What was your favorite Ignite talk?
I think, like many people have said here in conversations, is that you went from one talk to the next saying, wow, this is great, taking notes, and the next one was even better. So it was very, very hard to say. I think they were provided you with a very nice comprehensive picture of what people are doing, lots of different ideas, a lot of complementary ideas, and they gave you an idea of who you wanted to talk to. I think it was great at the beginning of the conference. Then subsequently you could go in the corridors during the coffee breaks and really kind of follow up on these Ignite talks. It was a great way of organizing it.
There was one guy who talked about deploying cell phones to an area of Africa in which they made just extremely good real-life decisions as far as who to give them to and to make sure that those people were okay and that the data was actually useful. So I was really inspired by the fact that he was using that as more than a field test.
And what he did was he took variables and created a three-dimensional model which showed the gap in information in volume. In other words, it added real space to the discussion.
My favorite Ignite talk was probably the chap from MIT. I think he's doing some of the most dynamic work and really innovative work, bringing together sort of synergy of several different technologies and approaches. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Somebody talked about, I don't know if they're called walking around papers, or basically like little maps that you can just print out and walk around with them and draw on them and then scan them back in. So that's actually great for me because, again, as a field person, usability is key. So all of these tools, I'm looking to see how they can actually be operationalized on the ground, and that's something that is extraordinarily useful to us.
I guess the final thing that I found fascinating was we had a keynote address, and the speaker was phenomenal in that she was able to bring together sort of philosophy of knowledge, history of science, ground operations, and how do we get things done in the area of the health field, and how do we use some of these new methods, and to have that kind of broad spectrum of analysis and background to put into a presentation and bring forth a couple of messages is quite unique, and it was a fabulous talk.
What this conference really did for the first time was to bring together such a really diverse group of actors. You've got NGOs, NGO managers, operators in the field, foundations, scholars, and technology groups, like all sitting around talking about the problems. And so the opportunities for sort of cross-pollination of ideas there are huge, as well as collaboration in the future, I think, is a big thing that this conference accomplished.
It's the convergence of all these different topics that are coming to form this. It's really, I'm kind of a rookie coming to the humanitarian space. So for me, I was coming ears wide open, wanting to absorb as much as possible. And you sit down and you look at how many different domain specialists and fields are coming together to kind of contribute to this. So I'm walking away thinking, there's a real opportunity for everyone to have an impact and see where this is going to go. Intend on watching this website and maybe even contributing a little bit to see where things go in the next 12 months, because I got a feeling this thing will be, I think it's easy to say it'll be twice the size next year.
I've been involved in other interdisciplinary situations where it's more contentious, and it really seems like people here are positive and they're working towards a goal, and it just seems like there'll be many more conferences to come, and bringing in students and creating a curriculum, it just seems like it's really taking off already.
I think this conference is integral because, it was brought up today that this is not really a new field, but it's really the first time people are getting together and discussing it as a field. Before it was just people are using mapping as tools or analysis techniques, and now we're really talking about it as a field. So this is an integral conference.
You have folks who are coming in from the spatial side, folks who are coming in from the social media side, folks who are coming from the operational side, folks who are academics, folks who are technologists, folks who are coming in from different regional focuses, different cultural ideas. This is the first time that I begin to understand what the taxonomy is.
think another thing about this conference that's very interesting for us is understanding our users and the different type of users we are dealing with. And since we are in the very early stages of this project, we have to kind of identify the different categories and link to that what Eva was just talking about, the visualization. We have to understand what different types of visualization are useful for what user groups. And obviously it's very different from people who are using data for operational purposes or world leaders who are using it for policy making.
Feels like it should have been a little bit longer. Like there's so much to talk about, and there's so many interesting, presentations and so many interesting side conversations that they either need to be longer or happen more often or something like that, because they're really getting a lot of good knowledge transfer.
Personally, what was most thought-provoking was the keynote speaker. I thought that the look at history and really understanding crisis mapping in broader context is very key. I think what we have an opportunity for is really connecting the best of new technologies with the best of old methodologies to come up with creative solutions for the future.
This is the first time doing very, very different things, but still closely related. We can sort of sit down and discuss and see, well, where do we want to take this?
One of the things that's been a very pleasant surprise is finding out that we can all communicate. I sort of feel like a rare beast here, again, since I am a field and program person and I don't speak the language of GIS or the language of technology. So it's been a real pleasure to find out that there's a lot of potential overlaps and that we are able to communicate. So I think for me then it makes me really excited about and already starting to see the potential for a lot of collaborative partnerships between my organization, some academic organizations, and some of these technological groups as well.
The fact that we're all here and we're able to start having these conversations of what are you doing, what am I doing, how can we now combine our efforts, I think that is pretty revolutionary. And I think that represents a great shift.
Will you be coming to ICCM 2010?
Certainly. That is most definite. Unless you guys kick us out, we'll be here.
Be there in a second. No problem.